Will the winter meetings get hot? The hot stove is piping hot. Let's talk. Let's get going.
Cue the music.
Good morning. Welcome to the Upper Deck for Pinstripe Chronicles. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lynn.
And we are here to talk to you about what's going to happen in the coming weeks. And really, the hot stove is, I said it was piping hot, but I think it's only piping hot on this show today because it's really kind of quiet out there.
Really, I'm glad I have thermals and parkas and because it's been chilly in the Yankee universe, that's for sure.
Oh,
and
God,
I want to say good morning as our friends start piling in. Hey, Lori, Jonathan, Li, and NFE, good morning. Hope you brought a few extra logs because we need them on the fire. And you guys, we could always count on for that. Lori, that's why we love you. This show
Absolutely. And this show is sizzling. I got a lot of good ideas today about off-season needs. Lynn, let's start off with the trivia question.
Yep. Absolutely. And so here we go from our friend Spencer. So Brad Ausmus has been hired as the new bench coach of the Yankees, taking over for the much appreciated Carlos Mendoza, now the Mets manager. What year was the New York Yankee bench coach implemented as an official position, and who was the first New York Yankee bench coach?
I love that question. That is great.
Excellent question, and I shall reveal what's underneath the black line at the end of the show.
I have no idea what the answer to that question is, but I'm dying to find out.
Yep. And so we will definitely get to that at the end. And hey, Dev, great to see you.
Well, how does the chat feel about Brad Ausmus? Are we excited? Did this news cause a ripple to go through the chat? What do you think, Lynn?
Well, so I did take some time to learn a little bit about our new friend Brad, and it turns out that he actually began drafted by the Yankees, and he never made it up to the show. He spent his career with the Yankees several years in the minors, and then the Rockies took him on, and he began his 18 MLB seasons as a player.
Wow.
So we have a bench coach with a lot of years under his belt as a player. And he, by the way, his position was catcher, and he was a 3-time Gold Glove winner. And so he has some great creds as a player. And then after he retired, he worked for several organizations coaching and in special assistant roles. Most notably, he managed the Tigers for 3 years from 14 to 17, and then most recently the Angels in 2019. And he was let go from both positions because his record wasn't great. So his winning-losing record was 386 to 422. But the case could be made that he didn't have much to work with during the years that he was managing those teams.
Right.
But if we're going to say that, then we would need to say that about Boone. And I'm not so sure I'm willing to say that about Boone. Reportedly, and I read this in more than one source, he has been considered one of the great minds of the game. And to that end, the Astros think really highly of Ausmus, and he had spent some time, some stints with the Astros. In fact, the bulk of his player career was with the Astros, and so last winter he was reportedly even in the running for the GM position.
Okay,
we know went to Dana Brown. Because Dana Brown had much more, front office experience. And then most recently, there were also rumblings that he would be considered to replace Dusty Baker as Houston's manager. But we know that they went with Joe Espada because that made sense with him being the bench coach, and to elevate him to the position of
Right.
manager. So here's the thing. So it's apparently this given that when managers retire, their bench coaches elevate. This wasn't like an unusual thing with Espada being tapped for it.
Right.
With Osmos being bench coach this year, if Boone takes another header this season, which we don't want, that could mean that we're looking at our potentially our next manager.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, jury's going to be out because we haven't seen him in action for us. But theoretically, if this is a common thing, he could be in line for that. But of course, that would mean them letting go of Boone, and we don't see that happening.
Right.
And I'm wondering what the chat feels about this, because Osmus's ties to the to the Astros goes beyond his playing years. It's also about Jeff Bagwell being one of his best friends. Jeff Bagwell is an Astros legend. I'm sure everyone in the chat must know that. And Bagwell is a very close friend of the owner of the Astros, Jim Crane. So that kind of puts an Astros insider in our dugout.
Okay.
So I'm stirring the pot a little bit.
Stir away.
Stirring the pot, stirring the coals in the hot stove. So
I got to say, I agree with Lori. My first reaction to the Osmus signing was he seems like Boone 2.0. Because he's kind of like, he doesn't seem to have this personality. Like, you can't really say Osmus is he's a great player. He's got a great history with the game, knows the game, but he's not a guy that strikes you. He's certainly no Nick Swisher with the smiles and the positive energy and that sort of thing. But anyway, let's take our prognostication glasses, look into the future. We got winter meetings coming up, December, I believe, 4th through the 7th. Lynn, what are your thoughts on the upcoming winter meetings?
Well, so there's, of course, with every major MLB undertaking, there's rumors. And so leading off with Yamamoto, so according to his agent, there's double-digit numbers of teams that are highly courting for signing Yamamoto. And so this coming week, they're going to be holding Zoom meetings with interested teams because Yamamoto's currently in Japan. And so that'll be starting this week. And then per Martino from MLB.com, from those Zoom meetings, Yamamoto's going to choose his finalists, and he'll travel to the United States soon after the end of the winter meetings to meet in person with his finalists. Right. Isn't it? And then that tells me that's like very telling, right? Like who's in this position of power here? It's Yamamoto. He has MLB at his feet.
He's calling the shots
around, and the players are on on tender hooks about are they going to get the call? It's the other way around. And so those Zoom meetings are going to be very interesting because you can't send flowers through a monitor. So but they're going to have to do their best elevator pitches this week to get that in-person visit the week after winter meetings.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting that we have both Yamamoto. We have a bunch of, actually several Japanese pitchers. There's an Ohtani hanging out there. I mean, I realize he's injured. He's not going to pitch in 24, but that doesn't mean he isn't looking to pitch. Maybe he goes down on a 1-year deal and doesn't pitch in 24 and signs with a team just to DH. Maybe that's the case, but I'm thinking Ohtani and Yamamoto will sign close to each other. I wonder if Ohtani's waiting to see what happens with Yamamoto, in fact, to make a move himself. Also, Juan Soto in the winter meetings. We're looking to see if he gets traded. That would be big news. Don't know if that's going to happen, but would hope it will. Looking at the what? I'm sorry.
Sorry, that was also actually one of the things I read is that they think that there's going to be a lot of talking during winter meetings with Soto's agent, and so this is interesting because Soto is going to be a free agent next year. Everyone knows that, and will he accept a 1-year deal? Just waiting for that. Would he move? With just a 1-year deal, and that would be perfect for us because I know majority of us are worried about the Martian when he returns.
Right.
What would happen there, as opposed to Bellinger, who we'd be signing, who won't be, who's a free agent now, and once he's taken, won't be. So, so I just wanted to, but it's definitely being bandied about that there'll be some sort of an answer or finalists for that position, similar to Yamamoto. I just wanted to mention that connected to the winter meetings.
Yeah, and looking at the Yankees off-season needs, I think that it would be, everyone in the chat agrees, the Yankees must, underline, bold, put it in lights, must obtain Yamamoto, I think. But if they don't do that, if they do not obtain Yamamoto, what are they going to do as far as building from within? Do you think there's any chance that the Yankees stick with what they got this in the starting pitching? And what would that look like?
Hey, good morning, Almighty Finesse. Thanks for joining. Good to see you too. Well, so just right off the top of the head, the starting rotation as we know it now will be obviously Cole and Rodon and the newly married Nestor Cortez, and then really on its face, King and Schmidt.
Right. Are we satisfied with that, or do we need to go out and get a big arm? I think we need Yamamoto. I know the chat agrees. Barring that, how about Blake Snell? Aaron Nola recently signed with the Phillies, so he's off the books. What about Montgomery? Anyone interested in reuniting with Monty?
Well, like I said last week, if we get the Monty that we just saw with the World Series, hell yes. If we get, Monty that we saw on and off when we had him, as much as we love him, then I'm not so sure that he's the it guy. And Lori's saying dump Montrez. I'm assuming Montas.
I don't even think about Montas, frankly. To me, that was the experiment that didn't work.
And if he's saying that Ohtani's going to get a contract north of $500 million, which far surpasses the numbers being bandied about for Yamamoto. But here's the thing. I mean, no way are Yankees going to pay $500 million for anybody. Even if, no, that's just never going to happen. Right. And so, even if Mariano Rivera came out of retirement, but we also have to remember that we're not getting double dip here with Ohtani. We don't know how he's going to come back this season after a very serious operation. And what if we're really just getting a DH and on the field and at least at the very beginning. We don't need DHs. Lord knows that.
Lord knows that.
Infield is plentiful, so I don't know about that either. Spencer, hey, good morning, Spencer. Spencer is not seeing Monty coming back, and he's putting his cards down that Rodon bounces back.
And Impeachment puts down the name Trevor Bauer. Now, those some That's some strong language there. And everybody who knows me knows that I kind of favor Trevor Bauer for the Yankees too, because I refuse to go into the whole Trevor Bauer is a bad guy. And I think that we should just look at him as a baseball player now and put that behind us. So Trevor Bauer is definitely interesting to me. I doubt that the chat will agree, but another offseason need that the Yankees have is at third base. We really need to find out what we're going to and solidify some the third base position. If we look from within, what would that look like? I think that would look like Peraza and possibly DJ LeMahieu. What about you, Lynn?
Well, so I think that, well, I have to try to separate my loyalty with my desire for a trophy.
Right.
I'm worried about DJ and how he'll be utilized. And and yet I understand and support that we want to play the kids. So, right. I think that it should be Peraza at third. And DJ is just going to have to be that, that guy that wherever he needs to be plunked, he'll be plunked on any given day, and he'll sit the rest of the time. Because the DH bench is going to be full, as I already mentioned.
Right.
And hey, Uncle Tats is in the house.
Uncle Tats. If the Yankees do decide to go outside to take a look at the free agent market, it's plentiful at third base. There's Matt Chapman, Candelario, Urshela, Justin Turner, Evan Longoria is out there. Mike Moustakas, Gene Segura. Don't forget IKF is out there. He's got a Gold Glove. Nick Senzel. There's a lot of options at third base should the Yankees decide to take a look out there. I didn't notice Chapman's got a Gold Glove, of course. That would be very welcome. Peraza played 36 games at third base for us in 23. He made 3 errors. He had a 964 fielding percentage. If he had the whole season, would he prove himself to be handy and to be, outstanding there? Let's hope, because that's probably what we're getting. But if we were going to look outside, I would love to see Matt Chapman take that job.
Yeah, and looking through the chat, everyone's solid with staying within, and yes, with the Peraza.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And so nobody out there is interested in reuniting with Gio Urshela? No Gio takers out there?
He did look so cute in his tuxedo last night. Just from the wedding. But I'm sure if we're with all the no's going on in the chat, Urshela would be a no.
Urshela's a no.
And it's not like he's an example of former Yankees that have moved elsewhere and become rock stars.
Right.
He really hasn't elevated his game. So, I don't think that's, I don't think that's a question.
Right.
So definitely not.
And if we take a look at left field, there were 10 different players at least who played in left field for the Yankees in 2023. I mean, all the way back to Aaron Hicks. Cabrera had the most appearances there in left field with 51. I think we need some consistency in left field. We need somebody out there who can, play the position every day and do it every day.
Yep. And that's Jonathan's question. Who could be in left field? I think.
Well, if you're going to be filling the job within, obviously Pereira, Cabrera, but Cabrera, he's got to get some offensive power going. He really needs to pick up the pace offensively.
Yeah, and we really haven't had enough road under Pereira's wheels to see if he would be any better with the bat. it's been lukewarm from the short, views we've had of him, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't have numbers in front of me, but I know we have a crew behind us who will correct me. But
Yeah.
I think offensively they're pretty much on par, and I think Cabrera has proven himself. Again, we have a longer, lens for Cabrera, but I don't know that we're going to run out and get a left fielder, and it certainly hasn't been in the conversation of late. Hey, good morning, Joe.
And I agree with L.I. Yankee King. I was suggesting before we got started today that possibly if the Yankees go out and get Soto, does Dominguez then slide over to left field? That seems like a natural solution to that problem. But if we don't solve the problem within, I say we could take a look outside. And a player that I've been looking and watching and enjoying for years, despite being an Astro, is Michael Brantley. He's a free agent. He could play left field. He does nothing but hit.
Hey, what's up, Mazza? Good to see you. All right, let's have at it. What about Brantley, chat? What are we thinking there, crew?
There's Michael Brantley. There's a whole host of names out there. Jock Peterson is available. AJ Pollock from the Giants. Lourdes Gurriel, he just won a World Series with the D-backs. Eddie Rosario, Jurickson Profar. Tommy Pham is available, and David Peralta. So those are just a few of the free agent left fielders that are available. Anybody have any outside left fielders that they're interested in bringing to the Yankees?
Well, Joe's saying he'd rather have Tucker versus Brantley if available.
So would I, but I don't think Tucker is he a free agent? I don't think Tucker's a free agent, but I know it. I definitely know what you're saying there.
And Li saying Dylan Carlson from the Cardinals.
Yep. There's a whole bunch of young outfielders for the Cardinals. Dylan Carlson is just one of the names.
So with every name you've mentioned for left field, I think Hal has fainted. And now Hal has fallen to the floor to meet the edge of his trousers at least 12 times in this conversation. Because look at what we're doing to him financially. We want big money for center field. We want big money for pitching. And now we're talking about bringing in somebody, signing somebody for third base when we already have, some guys we mentioned, and left field when we already have guys we mentioned. So just in practical reality, is that even going to be entertained?
Right.
It's an open question.
That's a good question. If we take a look at center field, what's available out there, obviously the big name is Soto. Just go fucking get Soto. Why even have this conversation? Let's get Soto.
Yeah, well, so if Candelario is any cheaper, would he be suitable?
Right.
Because Mazza's saying get him, but
right.
The thing is, so if we get Soto, if we get him at all, is it going to be 1 year, or are they going to try to just swipe him for that multi-year?
Right.
To me, if Hal wants to go on the cheap, he's gonna toss out a 1 year deal with options. But Soto is Soto, and we're not the only ones talking to him, so that's going to be interesting.
Oh,
yeah. And Joe's saying the same thing. It only makes sense to bring him if we're going to re-sign him.
Oh, absolutely. So, you don't bring Soto if you can't sign him. Some other names out in center field, if we decide to go outside the organization, if we lose on the Soto sweepstakes, obviously Kevin Kiermaier's out there and available. Bellinger's out there and available. I'm not a Bellinger fan yet. I'd like to see some more years of consistent good play because he's had some down years offensively. We don't need any more of that. We need bats.
Right. And so Mazza, I hope that that's right. I hope that we're the heavy favorites. And gosh, we've talked about it literally every show for over a month now, that he'd bring so much more than just what his numbers promise. He'd bring like new life, new energy, and it would be the Soto Judge, parade. Rizzo would have to reapply for best friend slot. So
Yep.
it's a wish, and we seldom get what we wish for, though. But
Yep, that's true.
And Chris, so also what Maz is saying is that Soto would play when Dominguez returns. Soto could move to left. Dominguez would go back to center, and Judge would be where he is.
Okay. Well, if that's the configuration, then that's what works. Soto is a must. Yamamoto is a must. Let's go. The Yankees go get them and run, don't walk.
So LI, I'm not so sure that we can say that, somebody who doesn't even grow full facial hair yet is done in center field from having Tommy John. I think we're thinking about other, more mature players that have struggled, but he is young, and with youth comes resilience, and that includes, inside the body and how it operates. So I don't think we could really say that yet.
It reminds me though, when L.I. Yankee King says that, when Andujar came back from his injury, he was never the same.
True. That's true. I mean, anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible, but yeah. I think that he definitely deserves the same opportunity of chances to adjust to being back, and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And beyond spring training. But yeah.
I don't know if anyone else besides me takes a look at any of the Fangraphs projections, but I took a look this week to see what maybe we could be looking forward to in 2024 from some of the top Yankees. I don't know whether or not projections interest. A lot of people aren't interested in projections because there's no way of knowing. It's numbers that present as a science, but of course, the minute you put your faith in these numbers, a player gets hurt and derails the whole thing. But anyway, something that's interesting to look at. And Aaron Judge, for example, his 2023 numbers, he played in 106 games. He hit 37 home runs. He had a 267 batting average and a 5.3 WAR. What do you expect from Judge in 2024? Let's just say we get a healthy Judge going forward. In the chat, would you think that Judge is going to be capable of hitting 60 home runs in 24? What are your thoughts?
Well, when I look at the second half of last season, had the season been longer, Judge was on pace to, closely either meet his 62 or surpass it.
Right.
At the rate he was producing afterwards. And so, that bodes well for me for that possibility that, he'll hover up in those higher numbers again. I don't know about surpassing it. Another year has gone by, but so
I think that's interesting what Joe says. He agrees with Fangraphs, who says they projected that Judge would hit 45 home runs in 24 and that he would bat at a 270 average. So I think what they're suggesting is that we would get a Judge year that's nothing like what we saw in 2022, obviously. It would be gargantuan if Judge were able to replicate the amazing season he had then. But I expect a healthy Judge to be able to perform at a much higher level than a 270 batting average. So I'm hoping for better than that from the captain.
So, Jonathan, I'm going to stand in the corner with you about hoping for a 2022 type season. But yeah, in all practicality, those projections based on, what everyone's saying in the chat, everyone thinks that those are pretty much in line. And what they're predicting in the chat from Joe and NFE and Spencer is pretty much in line with what Fangraph said.
And what about Anthony Rizzo? I think Rizzo is a puzzle going into 2024. He's kind of a question mark. What are fans expecting to see from Rizzo in 24?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We haven't talked about Rizzo in quite a while. Also looking quite dashing last night. So I didn't get a chance to talk to him much during cocktail hour, but I did comment that his tuxedo was fabulous. But seriously, what does everyone really think about Rizzo? I have to take pause because he's always just in my mind at first base. I almost forget that we didn't have him for most of the season. So,
right.
What's gonna? I mean, is he fully recovered?
Right.
What moves are the team going to make now that this has been such a spotlight issue?
Yeah.
And will Rizzo be treated with kid gloves? Will he be the one resting every other day? And if so, then what does that mean for first base? Maybe then I'm not so worried about DJ. And I know I shouldn't worry about DJ. And by the way, all of you, our friends in the chat, make really good sense. He's doing what he's paid to do by being a utility guy. But Joe's throwing down and saying Rizzo's coming back.
Rizzo's coming back. I did see where Rizzo is working with Judge's personal hitting coach. Did other people see that news item as well? Now, Fangraphs is projecting that Rizzo will hit 24 home runs. He was on a career pace when he went down. If you recall, he was really seeing the ball well before he was injured. They're predicting a 242 batting average, which is disappointing, but he hit 244 up to the point where he left us in 2023. So Rizzo, I hope will rebound. I hope that he's going to improve his numbers and he's going to pick up where he left off last year before he got injured.
Yeah, and so everyone's responses about Rizzo range from, not counting on him even playing to, Joe's prediction about the 30 home runs, and so and everything in between. And why would we trade for Ryan McMahon? It's first base isn't a need whether Rizzo returns or not. Li. So we need our dollars spent elsewhere as we've been discussing. We have DJ and understood that he's also questionable, but I don't think that's where the money's going to be going, and it certainly hasn't been part of the conversation. So Chris, it's interesting as we're talking about all of these possibilities. There was another MLB.com article about under the radar free agents.
Okay.
Names that we haven't even discussed or really read much about. So and this really goes to the pitching end of things. I'm bringing us back to pitching for a minute. So one of the under the radar free agents is Shintaro Fujinami. He's a right-hander, most recently with the A's and then the Orioles. And so he had a roller coaster season. His line numbers are not good, but this is why he's intriguing per MLB.com. He throws 100 miles per hour, and he showed flashes of becoming a valuable late inning reliever in Baltimore. Fujinami struck out over a batter per inning, allowed a batting average of just 193, and had 20 scoreless outings with the O's. And again, his stuff is really enticing. His velocity taps out at 102.6. And so, and those are on a, and that was on a strikeout. And so, he's a high velocity guy. His velocity, he was only one of 13 to reach a max velo, by the way, of 102.6 in the major league. So, if he can, here's the caveat though. If Fujinami can get onto a team that knows how to develop its pitchers, oh well, there goes that. He could be a huge value signing. The second one is Wacha from the Padres.
Okay.
And have you been watching Wacha?
I know the name.
Kill me. And so he, with the Padres, he made 23 starts in 22 and 24 this past season. He's gone 25-6 with a 3.27 ERA and a 1.14 WHIP. He has lost a little bit of his velo, but he's only 32 years old, so in theory he's got a few good seasons left to offer a club to have a veteran in its rotation.
Right.
So those are the two.
I can see. I mean, Waka would be like the consolation prize, and it seems to me it would be a perfect Cashman move. Instead of Yamamoto, you get Waka.
Waka. Now I'm pausing there. All right, Watcher or Waka. All right, so who we haven't talked about is Peralta. I know I'm moving us to the pen, but are we re-signing him? I haven't heard anything about Peralta, and really we should be talking about the pen a little bit more than we have been. So maybe that's something to continue next week. But what are we doing about Peralta? I mean, he posted the 2.83 ERA in his 63 appearances, and he's really effective against lefties. So, and the Yankees have used him in multiple spots. And he's been able to, do that. So I'm getting a big meh from Lori. And NFE saying bring him back for 1 year. I mean, why not? At least it's a known entity, and he has performed decently. And yes, that's very fair, NFE. He was very overused this past season, and we saw him tank out towards the end because of it. And so it's really it's an unfair assessment to say that, we shouldn't bring him back based on, how the season ended. We should think about everything he was put in for. So, yep. So everyone seems so far from meh to yes, 1 year. And Lori's saying he was out of shape at the end of the season. And I would say, was he out of shape, or was he just plain old dog tired? From being overused? You decide. But I know you decided meh. So that's so a couple of things, pitchers we haven't mentioned before to maybe keep our eye on, maybe not. And then let's think about Peralta. I would love to know everyone's thoughts about to come next week. Talking about the bullpen a little bit. I'm putting that down on the agenda as one of the things.
Good idea. I guess the question is, will the Yankees go get a closer? Are they happy with Holmes? What did the chat think about that? Will they go after Hader? I don't know. That's a good question. That pitcher that you were just talking about, it sounds like he could do some damage at the end of the at the end of the pen.
Yep.
Late innings.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so
You're saying Yuki Matsui is a possibility.
yeah,
Anything Matsui, I'm good with.
anything Matsui will take. Lynn, do you want to give the answer to the trivia question?
Or will, and I'm going to put it back up on the screen for the big reveal. So the question was, what year was the New York Yankee bench coach implemented as an official position, and who was the first New York Yankee bench coach? I didn't see any guesses in the chat. I don't know if everyone was really stumped, but the answer is Yogi Berra.
Oh my God!
77.
All right, Yogi.
Yeah. So, well, Spencer, this was a great question. And tying it to Brad Osmus was really spot on for where our heads were at. So that was a really good one. Thank you for that. And there we go.
And there we go. And we want to say thank you to the chat for joining us today. We really appreciate the time you take out of your day on a Sunday to chat Yankees. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and join us on Twitter, where both of us are there. We're happy to engage, any day of the week, any time of the day.
We so appreciate our co-hosts. And as always, you'll always have a reserve seat with Chris and me right here on the upper deck. And go to those winter meetings and get us some deals.
Get Soto!
Go Yankees!
Go Yankees!